Alright, what's good? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be doing a camera comparison between the S24 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So basically how it's going to work is I'm going to go through all the photos and videos that I took with each of these phones. And for some parts, I might let it roll. But for other parts, I might share my thoughts and, talk about the details and comparison between the colors and the way that each phone handles different scenarios and settings. So let's get into it. Alright, what is good? We are here with a camera comparison, the S24 Ultra versus the 15 Pro Max. You already know what it is. To start the camera comparison off, I am recording some video from the front-facing camera at 4K 24 FPS per second. Let me know what you think about the quality and also the sound of each mic. Alright, so now I'm using the main cameras, same 4K 24 FPS. Let me know what you think about it. I can't see it for myself because, these phones don't have a display on the back. But yeah, this is what it looks like moving it around. Just in the car with some not the best lighting, but it's kind of light from outside coming in. It's not the best lighting conditions, but it's also not terrible because you have some light coming in and it probably looks decent, to be honest. But yeah, let me know the difference in my face, the textures, softness of my skin, the details, the colors, all that stuff. I'm sure they look very different. Right off the bat, I think the S24 Ultra is producing a more natural look inside the car. I really like how it doesn't lighten up the dark areas and make it look unrealistic and unnatural. The details in my face are there, the color, skin tone, it looks all good and natural, realistic to how it looked at that time. And then also the depth of the camera, it just looks better. Like the iPhone's image, to be honest, I don't really like what it's doing to my face. I don't really like how the hat looks. I don't like how it's raising up the dark areas of the image of the shot, and it's just kind of like, it's like a glowy feel. All right, so now here's where the S24 Ultra starts to take L's. For some reason on this day, S24 Ultra is just, the sky is like, a weird color and it's like super blown out. And the iPhone is retaining everything, but it still looks pretty good. And the iPhone seems to be over sharpening and, putting in a lot of contrast to make the image look like beautified almost. Whereas the S24 Ultra is kind of giving you a more natural look. But I feel like it's a little bit too natural if that makes sense. Like I was talking about not exposing the highlights and the lowlights exactly the same. Like I don't really mind that necessarily, but for your average consumer, people are gonna see the blown out sky on that S24 Ultra and be like, yeah, we're not rocking with that. So the iPhone is definitely winning here if we're just talking about point and shoot for your average person. But in terms of quality, I think these cameras are producing a very similar image. Both of them are at 4K, and yeah, the quality is pretty similar, pretty comparable. I don't think one is way better than the other, except for when it comes to in the car and it's of my face. The S24 Ultra is destroying the iPhone in that scenario for some reason. But this is not something new. Like I feel like iPhones have always had this issue of like, brightening up people's faces. Samsung's also too, but I'm not surprised about iPhones. Like they just give off this kind of glowy effect for some reason in lower lit situations. All right, so the first image, we got a basic picture of a blizzard in front of a TV, and it's a really close-up image with the 1X camera, the main camera. And right off the bat, you can see some differences. So the S24 Ultra is on the left. It has more separation between the foreground and the background, and then it looks to me a little bit more detailed, whereas the iPhone is kind of struggling. There's a lot of noise all over the image, but it's kind of compensating by over sharpening the image. And you can see that by, if you look at the clothing in the back behind the blizzard on the iPhone's photo on the right, and just in general, the separation between the foreground and the background is less on the iPhone. So it's a basic shot of, just the basement and just a bunch of different things, some different colors. But for the most part, both phones look pretty similar. And going forward, just keep in mind that the iPhone is shooting at 24 megapixels. That's just the default mode now on iPhones. The S24 Ultra is shooting at 12 megapixels. Both of them are bending down to these lower megapixel settings. Naturally, the iPhones should have more detail in the regular main camera shots, but it's pretty comparable. And then here's where we're gonna see some pretty big differences, but also some similarities. So left side, S24 Ultra, my daughter's skin tones are, obviously more pale. The overall image is cooler. but I think it looks natural, more natural compared to the iPhone's image, which is like super warm. She looks kind of orangish. Yeah, the next image, the iPhone is again, warmer. And then people also say the iPhone is way better at like taking pictures of kids and pets. But as you can see in this situation, the S24 Ultra got a clear shot. Pretty good, pretty usable. The iPhone's is not bad, but look at her hand. It's blurred out, caught in the motion. And of course that can happen to both of them. And it just depends on what my daughter is doing. And then here we go, another photo. And again, there is the temperature differences. The iPhone is warmer, the S24 Ultra is cooler. Overall, I like the iPhone's picture better, but I think that's because of the framing. And then you can just see like the detail in her eyes, and it kind of pops out, and she's just so cute. And the S24 Ultra shot, she's like mean mugging, she's like cheesed, and you see the motion with the toy. It's not completely in focus because she was moving her hand. So this can happen to both of these phones. But overall, I think both images are pretty good, and it's just a difference in philosophy and a difference in angle. So here is where like you're gonna see preferences. So the iPhone's image is a lot more HDR-y. Like the iPhone tried to, keep the plants bright enough to see it and see the details, but also keep the background balanced so that it's not too bright and it's not too dark. So it tries to balance the whole image. Whereas with the S24 Ultra, it looks a lot more realistic to what you would normally see. And if you're using a real camera, an actual camera, you got to choose to expose the highlights or the lowlights. You can't necessarily go in between unless you use multiple exposures or HDR auto stuff. The S24 Ultra is on auto mode just like the iPhone, but took a natural looking image here. And I prefer a natural look, so I like the S24 Ultras. This is just an interesting shot because completely different colors. The iPhone went like completely blue. S24 Ultra was pretty muted and gray, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it looked. I don't know where the iPhone got this blue hue and color from, but it's kind of interesting. In terms of detail, S24 Ultra looks more detailed, but I'm not sure if it's just the water placement, the way the water looks. But yeah, it's pretty close. The color is just crazy though. Okay, then we have my daughter in another like lower lit situation with the window being the only little bit of light. So the difference in like the skin tones and the way that it's like each phone processes her skin. You can see the iPhone losing detail in the darker parts of where her hair is. But then the S24 Ultra, obviously you got the motion in her hands. It couldn't capture her hands. This is another crucial part of these cameras. People say that pets are super hard for Samsung. It's funny how I start talking about pets, then my bunny knocks over the light. So yeah, people say Samsung phones struggle with pets, and I put that to the test for both of these. And as you can see, both of them it was hard to get a clear image here. And then this next shot is pretty good, pretty usable. The iPhone looks sharper with her fur. You can definitely see more detail. And then here, it's the same thing. The iPhone just looks sharper, more detailed. And especially the top of her head, like where her nose is, the ridge of her nose. I feel like a lot of phones struggle with that. And the iPhone did a pretty good job here. The S24 Ultra was pretty smoothing out. Kind of looks like it's lacking detail. And then with this one, it's kind of the same thing. Like on the S24 Ultra shot, it looks like a splotch of like just, that color. There's not really much detail on the ridge of her nose. All right, so here is where it gets interesting. So this is 1X outside. It's like a muted day. We got some Canadian geese right here in the middle of a field. As we zoom in, we got 3X. The iPhone completely missed them and it was just blurry, I guess, with my hand motion. The S24 Ultra, like the grass is more detailed for sure. The birds are in focus. Everything is looking pretty clean. And then 5X, like it's just no competition. The S24 Ultra is definitely a cleaner image, more detailed. The iPhone's image, it looks like a, water art painting or something like that. So for the most part, I think the iPhone is definitely producing better images here in this daytime situation with no clouds and the sun is kind of going down. I think the iPhone is doing a better job with like balancing the image and dynamic range. As you can see in this shot, the S24 Ultra is blowing out the sky and the buildings in the back, anything that the light is touching over there. And the details overall is pretty comparable, but I don't know, the S24 Ultra is definitely choosing to expose lower so that it can get the lowlights, the shadows, but the highlights are being blown out. Okay, and then we got another zoom comparison all the way until we get to 5x. Even at 5x is pretty comparable, but as you get closer and closer, you start to see how the iPhone is using contrast and sharpening to produce a decent image. The S24 Ultra's image looks soft in comparison, but you can tell that it's more detailed and, you know, the darker parts preserved and stuff like that. You can work with the S24 Ultra shot more than the iPhone shots, but these are pretty good still for a zoom camera that is not like super zoom and high res like the S24 Ultras. The iPhone zoom camera is pretty good for what it is. Okay, so now we got some selfie camera photos and both of them are blown out, and yeah, it's pretty comparable overall. But yeah, that's basically it. That's all the footage I have, all the photos I have to compare between these two. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and which one you like better, which one you think took the better images and videos, which one you prefer more. Overall, I think both of these are top tier camera systems for smartphones. I do think the S24 Ultra has more versatility in terms of what you can accomplish and what you can do because of the software, the features, the zoom, all the different cameras. But the iPhone, it's a really good camera, right? And it's good for point and shoot. It's good for your average consumer. It's good for... Alright, so I'm editing the video right now and I had to interrupt it because I forgot to talk about the fact that the iPhone has, you know, some special features too. Like the iPhone has ProRes, ProRAW, and it can shoot in log and stuff like that. So it definitely has some pro capabilities in terms of the camera and what you can do with your footage. And you know, you can even use it in a professional sense. There is a case to say that it might be even better than the S24 Ultra because Samsung's RAW files for when it comes to photography, they have been known to be pretty bugged and they don't really work as well. So the iPhone just offers a smoother experience for, you know, stuff like that. And then log is like another level with video editing. And then also on top of that, you can shoot this high quality, high bitrate video footage directly onto an SSD with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So yeah, those are some nice advantages and nice features that the iPhone has. Really comes down to what you value, what specific features you want for your workflow and who you are. Like obviously not everybody is a professional. Not everyone is making content or using their phone in these kind of ways. Not everybody cares about all these features. So, you know, it really comes down to what you value. Just a solid device overall. And if you have the Apple ecosystem, you take a video and then you airdrop it to your MacBook and you can edit it and stuff like that, or your iPad. The S24 Ultra can do that as well if you have a Samsung computer. The Galaxy Book Ultra can edit 4K videos pretty easily now, so kind of similar workflow, but the iPhone is more accessible because you can get cheaper Macs and iPads nowadays with the M series chips that outperform cheaper Galaxy Books, and Galaxy Books are just super expensive for what you get anyways. All that to say, both cameras are good, but it comes down to personal preference. I'm sorry if that's what you don't want to hear. And what do I prefer? Find out in future videos. Subscribe. We out. Peace.